can be 3D. Imagine the number of things. Like my mind, as far as my mind can think, that's the limit of how creative I can be with my explainer videos. Alright, good evening. Welcome back to In the Khud. This is 10 July 2023, 7:01 p.m. and it's a Monday, start of a new week, and I want to get back to my consistency. It's weird, like someone as disciplined, as dedicated as this person can even go through waves of inconsistency. And that's exactly what Muji says, right? No matter what, as long as it's the person that you're talking about, there's always going to be changefulness, there's always going to be unreliability, if that's a word. There's never going to be a constant. And so again, it's just you fall, you rise, you fall, you rise. It's a constant ebb and flow. There's no stability in the person. With that said, I have to document one thing which I did over the weekend. I had spoken about the chance of having a freelance project before the weekend, I think on Friday, and I was asked to make a sample video for them. So I made an entire explainer, illustration animation based explainer, in a matter of just one day. I spent like half of Saturday as well on it, and half of Saturday I worked on Adobe XD, making a presentation for a session which happened just 1 hour ago. And it was crazy. 1.5 hours I was just speaking, and I explained the entire process of installing Stable Diffusion into your system, thanks to Sebastian Camp and my own little bit of trial and error here and there, but primarily Sebastian and his method of installing. So firstly, let me just go chronologically. Let me show you the XD file that I made and a bunch of things that I learned as well in the process. So this file right now is the kind of presentation that I want to be having, period, right? So if I go into Control Enter puts you into the preview mode, and Shift Windows Enter makes it full screen. This is again something that top bar, it doesn't go away with XD. This annoying thing always stays, but this is like a good way. So this is amazing, right? This is done through a presentation plugin which comes inside XD. I will show that. So there's installing Stable Diffusion, there's text here, there is hover effect. So you come in here, this thing becomes big, there's a video playing behind, and there's some text here. If you click here, it will take you to the bottom page, and then this slide up transition. And now here there is a home, obviously, to go back home, and there is this drag feature. Like if you can drag here and go from page number 2 to page number 3, and then when you come to page number 3, you hover over, you get these nice micro interactions, you call them, but I'm gonna go a little overboard here. But yeah, a lot of things that I learned making this. Let me just show you the file. So inside design, there's literally nothing you need to know. You come in here, there is this plugin called presentation. Just search in for plugins here, and you'll get presentation in your Adobe marketplace or whatever. So restart, go away. Then you come in here, you get a lot of things. You get firstly, for slides, you can change the slide. Initially it will be like a bunch of different formats you can use, like geometric or whatever, but you can switch theme as well. This is where, so I've used the minimal dark for this because I like the dark theme. You could go for these, and the thing is, if you click on it, it should in real time take all the elements of that theme and apply it to this presentation, which I don't know if you can undo it. Wow, it just messed everything up. So yeah, undo works. But yeah, a lot of nice themes for you to use as a starting point. There was this one thing I learned about timers, but with that I wasn't able to use a video behind, where you can have a constant movement over time here. Okay, should I show it? Okay, let me show it. You want to select this artboard. First thing is timers you cannot put on components. I'm jumping a lot of things. There are components like this green color border or something. There's a component. Inside the component there are things. So to components you can give interactions and triggers and stuff like those. In prototype, and what I'm trying to show here is, let's say this over here, this I wanted to move this up and down consistently throughout, right? So the way I would do that is I would select this artboard, and from this artboard I'm gonna, oh sorry, I forgot. You want to select the artboard, so click on the word cover, and then you make a link. So now you're gonna get a trigger for time, okay, right? And then you're gonna set this delay 0 second, 0.3 seconds, and importantly, what you want to do is this thing, you want to take it in your design, you want to take this thing and move it down. Okay, now ideally what should happen is when you do Control Enter, this in your prototype, this has, oh, I forgot, for the loop to complete you have to go back from this to this again. So just do this and set it to time and everything will be the same. And now if you were to do control enter, what, okay, you can see it's happening, but it's happening very fast. So I think oh, type has to be auto animate. I forgot, auto animate. Yeah, now if you do control enter, it has to be for this as well. So I'm gonna select this, and this thing is supposed to have one here for time, auto animate. And now, yeah, you see, but the problem is if you keep a video playing behind, it's gonna loop like this. So that's why I ended up not using it. But this is a little bit that I wanted to explain about, a little motion here, and then your hover effect is basically gone. You know, trying to catch it somehow. How do you make that hover effect? Over here you see these are components. In your design you will select a component, you'll get an option here to add a state, right? You can come in here and add a hover state. There's also a trigger state. I don't know why I can't see it right now. So you add a hover state and then you change whatever you want to change. Like for example, here I've made the scale big and then I've rotated this and inside element going inside and did that kind of. But yeah, I've broken this file successfully, but I want to just roughly document the things that I have learned here. It is saving in the cloud, so I don't even have an option to save but not cancel but not save. Anyway, the second thing is the illustration animation that I made. Should I play it first?
Ever felt like your money's just sitting in the bank without any signs of growth? What to do, where to invest? Very few people know this investment black horse, and we're about to let you in on the financial world's best kept secret. The Indian chemical industry. McKinsey has crowned this industry as a global outperformer, so much so that investors will feel like they've struck gold. The Indian chemical industry is galloping towards a breathtaking future, all set to double and reach a staggering $304 billion by 2025. That means you, my friend, can reap the rewards too. But wait, there's more. Petrochemicals, polymers, and agrochemicals are on the rise too. We're talking about a potential market worth $4.7 billion by financial year 2025. Imagine the possibilities here. And guess who's hopping on board the investment train? Indian Oil Corporation. It has already shared its plans to invest.
Okay, it's okay, I don't need to play the whole thing. You get the point, right? The biggest thing I learned here is you see this gradient with the texture. It is all made inside of After Effects using blending modes, a gradient effect, and noise. Noise with evolution animated over time. And then I think a big chunk of the time that I spent on this project was trying to figure out the design. So basically this was one of those, I don't know, I can say, but I think the first ever video where the entirety of the video, including the design, was done by me. There was no designer. Usually what happens in the full-time job videos, the hero videos, is that there is a designer and then I get help and I get the slates made. And then during the animation phase, if there are little changes here and there inside Photoshop or Illustrator, I will do that from my end. I wouldn't want to bother anyone. But here, everything I designed from my side. So if I show you, initially I was trying to, brainstorm and come up with a lot of other different variations. So I made a stylized version where I was trying to do this kind of thing where I'd have gradients right inside of Illustrator and the grain and everything, because it's kind of trendy and everything. But the problem is it was very disconnected, right? I was just taking random free pick illustrations and trying to put them together. There was no coherency. It didn't feel like one continuous video. So then I was like, yeah, Pana. What I mean by Pana, all these illustrations are from Pana. Now you're probably wondering, what the hell is this Pana? This Pana is basically a subset of free pick called StorySet. If you go to storyset.com, you're gonna see this, and Pana is this styles. So these, I was like, man, these are so good. How about I just use these kind? And you can, like, the thing is the search is a little broken. So if you type certain tags, you won't necessarily get it. But if you have the patience to manually scroll through it, you are most likely to get some version of whatever it is that you want. And that's exactly what I did. So I went only for Pana illustrations, and then my artboard looked something like this. And I was like, over here, if you see, I was trying to just put in a lot of elements and make it very crowded. And this is looking like an animation from 2015. very like childish and amateur kind of animation, and I didn't want to go that route. I want to go the very professional, like a studio route, where people like, this is like a proper animation. And you see in the entire video, I did not rig the character, I did not animate the characters using Duik, because obviously there was no time. I was just given one day to figure the whole thing out. But the best thing about this project is just understanding that these Pana illustrations work very well. The second thing that I showed is that grain in the background, right? That was amazing. And if I just quickly run the After Effects file, we're already at 12 minutes. Okay, one of the most recent advancements, if you see, is that Microsoft Edge. We've officially shifted to Microsoft Edge because Microsoft Edge definitively takes lesser RAM than Google Chrome. Google Chrome just eats up RAM like it's a hungry monster of sort. Yeah, the other thing that I learned is, if you see in the illustrations, let me show you for this entire project, I extensively used Overlord, and I'm so glad that I bought the plugin, because I was kind of confused, like am I just wasting money before these plugins? But it has definitively made logic to my mind now that it is always worth it. Investing into plugins and stuff which help your workflow, it is always worth it. So how does this background situation work? If I were to solo these layers, firstly you just have your basic simple color, a green color, nothing else, kind of like a light bluish green color. And then there is another layer which is duplicated on top of it. There are two effects on it. There is noise alpha and there is gradient ramp. Gradient ramp, you exactly know what it's doing. Let me just solo the gradient ramp. It's the same color of the background, and then towards the end we're just making a little darker towards the edges. And then noise alpha, this is the effect which is doing this. You can increase the amount, I've kept it at 50. And then random seed, I've just animated this. So if I was to play this here,
Ever felt like your money's just
you get that like nice
sitting
texture
in the bank,
moving and looped and stuff, which is amazing. So that was one thing. Other than that, I used lights. Okay, one more thing, I've used the 3D phone.
Ever felt like your money's just sitting in the bank?
So again, this 3D phone is by our same methodology of taking the layer and then duplicating it multiple times. So phone 3D here, and then you have phone thickness, the same composition duplicated. I want to make a script for that particularly, because it's not like feasible to make it every single time from scratch. There should be a script where you click a few buttons and boom. I'll come to the automation part towards the end of it. This is something very important that I want to document as far as the automation for these style of videos is concerned. But the other important thing was light, yes. So if you come into this comp, for the first time, in fact, I don't think I've ever used a light inside After Effects, but it's beautiful. It works very, very well. Even with 2D illustrations, that's something that I found. 2D, but you have to make all the layers in the comp 3D, that is okay. But it works like exactly how you would expect a spotlight to work. And that was nice. And the same thing, I don't think it's the same thing, but here if you see, I've used an effect called CC light rays, which is also pretty neat if you think about it. On a solid, you just add this, and then you can, and I've animated the radius over time. So one thing is, again, like just an appreciation of how nice your vanilla After Effects effects are. Like I, as a matter of fact, have never gotten around appreciating the vanilla effects, because I'm always like trying to do my own thing. But CC light rays is amazing, and you see a lot of match cuts in between, like from
Indian
here to here.
chemical industry, McKinsey.
That match cut is something that I've kind of figured out how to do, and I need a script for it. I definitely need. So if you see here, there's going to be position match,
Will feel like they've struck gold. The Indian chemical.
and I was thinking about doing a match cut where he would do the action and then pull the gold out, and then this would go. Like that's needed for momentum of sorts. And then again here, these are like gradients I've used for graph and big text, because why not? For this smoke behind, I've just used wave warp. And the best thing about this is all of these I did not. I'll tell you one more important thing here, which is really worth noting. If you come in here and import this file into After Effects, you will only see this particular artwork. Actually, what will happen is all of your artwork will be distributed in the same world position, which you could go make a void and then do like single parts, but I don't think that's possible. You will have to make all of these layers invisible somehow and on the same artboard, and then export it to After Effects. Is going to be a pain. So what I was doing is I was coming in here, I was selecting this amount of artboards and inside Overlord, I was checking it. I was constantly checking this toggle on and off, split shapes to layers. If I want to have these as separate layers, which a lot of work I had to do here itself inside of Illustrator, a bunch of things I've learned inside Illustrator doing this project. But if you just want to like export this as one thing, then you uncheck this thing off. And Overlord is amazing. I love Overlord. It's because of Overlord that I made this entire project. It's beautiful. And yeah, is there anything else I want to document? Again, the 3D phone comes in at, I think, 3 parts, and I have made like 3 different sets of compositions for those 3 parts. So that is all nice and good. One last thing I want to show before we end the session is, just before hitting record, I came across this very beautiful video by Anish Arts, and he explains how he makes this illustration inside of Blender. And can you think about it? If I can follow this method and make Pana style illustrations, which is very, very simple to be honest, if I can recreate this thing inside of Blender, and I can rig it and put it in my Blender library and have this kind of effect, and all of these things, instead of them being 2D illustrations which make them very, very limited and just moving in one, like 2 dimensions, it can be 3D. Imagine the number of things. Like my mind, as far as my mind can think, that's the limit of how creative I can be with my explainer videos, if I can have all of these in 3D. And that's what I'm gonna do, ladies and gentlemen. This here today is the announcement that we're gonna try our level best to follow Anish Arts' video to the T. If not needed, I understand Blender, that's okay, but we're gonna try and make as similar illustrations as Pana inside of Blender, and that is gonna skyrocket our creative process. I'm sounding very, very excited, but that's how it is. That's how I am. Most of the time I'm super excited. You see pillows in the background, but I do not care about putting them on the floor. Who cares anyway? This is like a raw documentation of my life. I feel like I've been speaking a lot. As I said before this, there was a session for 1.5 hours for which I was more or less continuously speaking. But I'm very glad about the fact that at least 4 or 5 people were able to install Stable Diffusion in the system and then launch it as well. Using it is going to be a thing which depends on their system and everything and internet speed. But it was a great success. Much exceeded, because I was like, maybe nobody would be able to install because it's kind of a hassle. But I did it very, very, very stepwise, and it worked out well. So having said that, that's it for today's longer than normal documentation. Almost hit 20 minutes. I really want to go to the gym because last 2 days working on this explainer video, I did not step out of the house. Yesterday I was feeling such a strong urge to go for my Sunday run / walk, but I could not because I had to finish the video by evening. Anyway, thanks so much for being in the crowd. I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace.